my opinion, you need to lighten up.
Batman can not only take a bullet, he can also literally take the heat. Thanks to the fact that his suit is made of the real fireproof material known as Nomex.
Nomex is used in firefighters' uniforms. Welders can wear it. Racing car drivers can wear it. Anyone who's at chance of being near a high flame situation or an explosion.
When exposed to flame, regular cotton fabric ignites instantly. But clothing made of Nomex doesn't burn.
It doesn't catch on fire, it doesn't melt, and it doesn't do any of the horrible things you think of when you're in fire, so that you can withstand fires for minutes without melting, burning, or igniting.
Nomex is a fiber with built-in flame resistance. When exposed to intense heat, the fibers carbonize and become thicker, creating a protective barrier between the suit and a person's skin.
Batman can basically walk through flames with this material, and the only thing he'll feel really is the heat. And if Batman rolls and falls and gets the fire out within a few minutes, he's certainly going to be fine.
One of the essential parts of any superhero suit is his cape, and Batman is no exception. But his cape benefits from a blend of real-life tech and a type only found in the labs of Wayne Enterprises.
Do you have any lightweight fabrics?
You know, I think I have just the thing. It's called memory cloth. Notice anything? Molecules realign, become rigid.
What kind of shapes can you make?
Can be tailored to fit any structure based on a rigid skeleton.
On first glance, the fantastic fabric seems like, well, a fabrication. But surprisingly, scientists say material with memory is in the works, and someday, items like Batman's amazing cape may become solid objects with the help of magnetism.
One that's been under active development is something called magnetorheological fluids. You have a fluid with little particles in it that when you apply magnetic fields, they all line up and they become very, very stiff. The problem is the amount they move is very small. So you would need a lot of them to have any sort of effect on your cloth. But it is not something that's technologically impossible. It's just something we haven't figured out how to do completely yet.
Okay, so let's say Batman's cape can harden into a wing. That doesn't mean he can automatically conquer the challenges of flight. Even real bats have difficulty accomplishing the feat.
Bats are not very effective flyers. They're excellent gliders. The energetics involved in bat flight is really quite high. They're not particularly graceful.
But Batman's method of flight doesn't involve the flapping motions used by real bats.
If you look at the Batman films closely, you will find that he starts from a high location and gets to a low altitude through the use of his cape. And in this regard, the cape really is not a flight mechanism, but more of a gliding mechanism.
If you have figured out how to make the memory fabric and this cape, it can give you the necessary lift to at least glide and float for some distance. The challenges you have to figure out are how to get enough lift to travel the distance he wants to do. It's the speed that he moves forward with that's the key. So he might do it by falling enough distance and let gravity speed him up. And for that, he'd need to come from a high enough building.
Believe it or not, people can actually glide like the Caped Crusader. In our world, we may not have Batman's transforming cape, but we do have something similar. Wingsuits.
The way this thing works is there's a slit right here. Air goes in the arms and fills up the suit. Actually, this whole entire suit is one big wing. The whole entire thing fills up with air, and that's kind of what helps you fly. You're not just controlled falling anymore.
So a wingsuit works basically the same way that we expect Batman's cape to work. You have the fabric shaped between your arms and your body and your legs in a way that gives you an airfoil type effect, a wing-like effect that generates lift as you move forward through the air. But if you look at the way they use wingsuits, you can tell that there's some dangers there in terms of the way Batman uses his cape, is most of the people using a wingsuit also have a parachute for the last bit to get them down to the ground safely.
Of course, not all of Batman's technological tricks are in his suit. For others, you have to look closer. Inside the most mysterious and versatile toolbox in superhero history, the utility belt. Of all the technologies Batman uses, there's one that's gotten him out of more tight spots than any other. His utility belt.
Hasn't every kid who read these comic books had a utility belt? Didn't you have a utility belt when you were a kid?
Batman's gadget-packed wonder is not unlike kits used by counterintelligence crime fighters, though Batman's belt is more compact.
Batman used the technology that was available to him at the time. Our traveling technical officers do the same thing. They carry a small kit with commercially available items. The kit even contains lock-picking devices, just like Batman's, but ours requires special membership and ID.
Over the years, Batman's utility belt has contained scores of gadgets. Some of them more far-fetched than others.
I always thought the rebreather was very cool. A rebreather is something that you sort of fit in your mouth and allows you to breathe underwater for a short period of time, longer than you could by holding your breath.
But many of Batman's gadgets are based in real technology. Take, for instance, his flexible fiber optic periscope.
Fiber optics are very common materials now. You can see them in a lot of kid toys. They're the nice little glass fibers at the end that shine the lights out the end. And basically what you do is bend light. Then as the light tries to bounce out of the tube, it actually reflects back in. We call this total internal reflection. The light stays inside the device. Even if you bend it through a fairly sharp angle or curve, it's the properties of the material it's made out of that keeps the light inside the fiber. And so you can take this periscope made out of fiber optics and bend it around corners and twist it around as much as you need to get where you want to look, and the light coming in one end will come out the other, and you can see what you're looking at.
It's you, isn't it? The other kids won't believe me.
Of course, other tools in Batman's belt are more lethal. His thermite bombs work like hand grenades do.
What Batman would be very successful at is getting through doors, windows.
A more unusual weapon is Batman's signature Batarang, the Dark Knight's version of a boomerang.
The Batarang was always my favorite. I always thought that was so cool. So every kid in their own home is sitting there trying to build their own Batarang and see if they work.
Each arm of a real boomerang is contoured like an airplane wing. When thrown, the rotating airfoils help give the device lift, similar to the way propellers lift a helicopter. A boomerang circles back to its launching point due to gyroscopic precession, a phenomenon that causes a spinning object to maintain its axis and direction as it rotates. Some of Batman's Batarangs have similar aerodynamics, but others, outfitted with cumbersome items like flashbulbs, cameras, police whistles, and bombs, might have more trouble getting off the ground. In Batman Begins, the Batarang was entirely reconceptualized as a martial arts style throwing star.
The Batarang was a very early piece of equipment of Batman's, and we felt it was very important to sort of make that part of his belt. But it had to be a very high-tech version of it, so it's smaller, but it's still a pretty lethal weapon.
My bets lost to win.
That's frightened me. This time my enemies shared my dread.
But the most famous use of the Batarang in the comics is as a grappling tool, a device that has now evolved into a grappling gun. And like many others, this technology is anchored solidly in science.
To have the grappling hook reach the top of the building, this is relatively easy. You're not looking at, I think, anything more powerful than some very simple spring-loaded guns, air guns, compressor things that you could easily imagine in the size of the handgun.
Batman's grappling system also packs enough power to lift the Dark Knight off the ground and into the air in mere seconds. That much liftoff would take a powerful motorized mechanism, one that factors in both Batman's weight and speed of travel.
If you look in the movie and estimate the speeds he's going up, you're looking at a power that's around 5,000 watts. To put that in perspective, typical light bulbs are 60 or 100 watts. So you're talking, maybe 50 times the power in a standard light bulb. That might sound like a lot, but it's not too bad. You can actually generate that power. And in fact, people have made devices that can pull people up.